Hey, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and today I'm going to take a look at the WeCreat MakeIt software, and I'm going to be making a sort of like mini Happy Spring sign using a combination of one of their designs with one of mine. So I wanted to walk you through how to do this. So I have opened the WeCreat MakeIt software on my computer. Now I am on the desktop version of this software. You do download it from the WeCreat website, and I'll put a link in the video description. There is also an app that is available, but to be honest, I haven't used that very much, and from what I can tell, it's not as functional as the desktop version, so that's why I am in the desktop version. Now, when you first open it, you'll see that it opens with basically like all of their designs available, and then you can, with this sort of ribbon across the top, narrow down the types of projects that you're looking at, if that's helpful for you. But I did want to kind of scroll down here so that you could see all of the various projects that are available on their website. Now, they do have a monthly membership that you can join. It's pretty inexpensive to be a member. And if you do that, then you can actually use any of these designs for free. But they're actually really, really reasonably priced. Like, I think the vast majority of them are 99 cents if you want to buy one and use it. So that's really reasonable in my opinion. Now for my little mini spring, happy spring sign, I am going to use a clock design that they have, which I know is kind of towards the bottom. So I'm going to keep scrolling here till I find it. Okay, so it's the flower desktop clock. So when you click on it, it'll come up in like a smaller window, and it'll tell you a little bit about it. It will show you the cost. You can see it's also scrolling through some photos, so you can get like different views of what it will look like. That can help you decide whether you want to purchase it. As you can see over here, it is 99 cents or free with membership. So if you decide you want this, then you would just click Make It. All right, so then this opens the actual creating software. So let's talk about this a little bit. As you can see, like across the top, you can go back to the home screen, you can change your settings, and under file is where you can like save things or open things that you've already created. Because you can save things in the software under your like account, and you will be required to like create an account in order to download the software, just so you know. Now there's also across the top, I think of these as sort of the informational tools about whatever's on your canvas here. So like if I click on one of these, like there's undo, redo. Array means like you can put the same image on multiple items if you want to do that. There's also group and ungroup up here that are kind of grayed out. Smart fill. There's also align, which has a drop down menu. Like let's see, if I click and drag and select many things, then align shows up, and you'll see that there's multiple ways you can align things. Merge, multiple ways you can merge things. So you can merge, you can subtract, you can just merge overlapping shapes, you can just subtract overlapping shapes. So those are kind of fun. You can, under the X and Y axis here in this position box, you can literally, if you have a specific X and Y axis location you want to put this on your material in the laser bed, you can do that here. You can also scale things, like change the width and the height. It is locked right now. You can unlock that, and then they will change. You can change the width without changing the height. When it's locked, they do change proportionally. You can also rotate things with a specific angle if you know that. You can mirror them vertically, horizontally, that kind of stuff with the tools across the top. Now down the left are sort of the creation tools, is how I like to think of them. So you can add in lines, you can add in rectangles, circles, text, you can upload an image, you can use the AI generator. There's a pen tool which will allow you to like literally draw points, you know, and lines like paths that the laser will cut. You can upload designs that you've got, and there's also an extract image button down here. Now I will upload at one point during this video, so we'll see that. I'm not really going to be using any other of these creation tools because I'm using the project as it exists now. Now over here on the right, this is kind of the laser information. So this is really kind of your machine information. And I don't currently have this hooked up to my laser, but I will in a minute. Let's look at the canvas for a second, which is this white box here in the middle. That is basically the bed of your laser. The camera in the laser, once you refresh it and your laser's on and hooked up, you can see the material on the bed and then move things around to fit exactly on that. And we'll look at that more closely in a little bit. Now, with the canvas here, you may notice that there's two colors, actually three colors of lines in this design. Most of them are red, and in the WeCreat MakeIt software, red means cut. So when I roll over something with my mouse, you'll see that it kind of turns this light blue. So I'll know which item I'm on. So I can like select that. So I'm going to click on it to select it. And you'll see over here on the right, the cut tab is highlighted because red lines mean cut. Now if I go to the clock face here, click on that, it goes over to Fill Engrave. So that means that for this portion of the design, it is going to fill engrave. Now the fun thing about Fill Engrave is that when you scroll down on this little area, you'll see that depending on the material you're set on, a little quick view matrix comes up. And so I'm on basswood right now. And if I click on this, I can bring it up and then I can sort of look at the picture to decide how dark do I want my fill engraving. And that's really nice. So the settings will automatically change if you just click on one of these. So let's say I like the look of this. So it's going to go to speed 100 and power at 60. If I just click that and then click off of it, and you'll see up here under power and speed, that is what it has changed to. Now you can also manually change these if you are more experienced than I am with a laser and you know exactly what speed and power you want to set something on. You can change the number of passes. You can mess with the line density. Now on the bottom of this screen over here on the right are all the layers that you'll see in the design. All right, so you can see all of the layers that are like red right now because it shows you the color of the line and then it shows you all the items that are red. And then here's the green item and then there's a blue item, and the blue is set to the Fill Engrave. Now this shape, this green shape, is this little slot right here in the bottom, and that is actually set on cut right now. So different than the red lines. I'm not sure why that is in this particular design, but you can manually set different colors to different settings. So there's cut, Fill Engrave, and then engrave. Engrave is essentially the same thing as score in like a Glowforge. So that's going to basically draw single lines or outlines. It will not fill in shapes. That's the difference between engrave and Fill Engrave. All right, so I'm going to actually mess around with this design. I don't want to use it as a clock. So I've selected the clock face, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click ignore for processing because I don't actually want to use that. And then I'm actually going to pull it off. Now, technically, anything that you pull off the canvas isn't going to be used. Like, it'll just kind of be ignored. But if you wanted to leave it on there, you totally can, and then just ignore it for processing, and then your machine will just act like it doesn't even see it. Okay, so then here's the little slot. I also want to ignore that, so I'm going to just close. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to drag that off because I'm actually going to make this into like a little sign that's going to prop up in the O in my home design because it's kind of small. It's only like 6 inches wide at the most. So that also means that like I don't need the clock hands here. So if I click on one to select it, I can hold down my shift key and grab the other two. And then I can also ignore those for processing. And I can actually drag them off. If I left it just like this, then all these elements would be the elements that my laser would cut out of like one piece of material. Like once I connect it to the laser, we could monkey around and move these and fit them onto one piece of basswood if we wanted to do that. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to instead be cutting these out of different colors of basswood that are part of the colored and patterned collections of pieces of basswood that you can get from WeCreate, and they're pretty cool. So we're going to have a multicolored, multi-layered design. So that means I need to move some of these elements onto additional canvases that we can add across the bottom. But first, what I need to do is group things together. Because right now, this whole piece is not one shape. It's actually a whole bunch of different shapes. So to do this, I'm going to just click on like the center, and you can hopefully see there's a very light bounding box that shows up around the element that is selected. And then if I hold my shift key down and I select the next sort of these interior cutouts, now I've got everything except this one. Oh wait, no, I've got them all. And you can tell because when you look, there's a bounding box around all the elements. Okay, great. So now I would go up to the top toolbar and I'm going to group these together. And then you see like it becomes one bounding box for the whole thing. And so then I can just pull this off over here. Now for this, it's basically the stand. So that little green piece that was cut out over here, this is the stand that would feed into that to hold up your clock if you were making this into a clock. I'm not going to use this. So I'm going to click and drag to select all of it. I am going to group it together just to make it easier to move around. And then I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to actually also do ignore for processing on this. I'm going to move this over just a hair so that I can click and drag to select all of these shapes. And I'm going to group these as well. Now, one thing you might want to do is line up all the elements together to make sure they fit. But really, they do. I mean, they should. If it's a good file and a correct file, it absolutely should fit. But the reason I want to at least line up this guy with this guy is because I'm going to be bringing in a little happy spring motif that I have made, and I want to make sure it's going to fit in this opening. So to do this, this design is not 100% symmetrical. So I'm going to actually like line these up on top of each other, and then hopefully you can tell I've got the piece with like the cutouts in it is what's selected. And at the very top, this is all very super light, there is like this box coming off the top, and that will allow me to rotate this. So I can rotate it until it lines up. Perfect. All right. So then you can see that these two line up. Now this one is a little bit harder to do that with because it doesn't, like, if you layer it just exactly in the center and we do the same thing, it's not just one turn that does it. It's actually like more like two. And what you can do is click and drag to select them all and then go to align and do like horizontal centering and then vertical centering. Aha. Okay, and so now it's basically lined up correctly. So now I'm going to upload my happy spring design. So I'm going to go over to the upload button here on the left-hand toolbar. I'm just click on that. Window's going to open into my computer, so I just have to navigate within my computer to where I have saved this design. So it's happy spring, so I just click on that to select it and then click open. And you see that it just comes in exactly as is. So I'm going to select the circle because I don't need that, and I'm actually going to hit delete to just get rid of it. And then right now, because these colors don't match up with the colors for the WeCreate, it's kind of this, the software is doing its best to guess as to what it wants me to, what I want it to do with these elements. So right now it thinks this is like a score, but I want to change it to cut. So while I have it selected, I'm going to click cut, and it changes it to red, as you can see there. And then same with spring. It's thinking it's engraved, but I'm going to change it to cut. So it changes it to red. And then it's kind of hard to see, but there is a little flower in the center of this. I'm going to see if I can grab the center elements and change them to cut. So that's the center of the flower. And then I want to grab the outer flower and I'm going to change that to cut. And so now you can sort of see the design. So if I click and drag to select the whole thing, I'm going to pull it over here into the center. And it actually looks pretty good. Like it fits in there really nicely. So, okay, so we're good to go. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to, because I'm cutting these out of different colors, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put different elements onto different canvases. So to do that, what I need to do is at the bottom, right now we see there's only one canvas, which is where everything on here is located. But I want to make it on multiple canvases. So down at the bottom, click the plus sign, so I'll get a second canvas, and you can see it's totally empty. Go back to the first one, and I'm going to grab like my first element. So I'm going to grab this group. I'm going to go control. I'm going to hold down the Control key and C on my computer to copy it. It would be Command C on a Mac. Then I'm going to go to the canvas 2, and I'm just going to hold Control V, and it will paste a duplicate into the second canvas. So now I'm going to create a third canvas, and I'm actually going to, you can delete this off or you can ignore for processing. Totally your choice. So now I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to Control C, go to canvas 3 and Control V. And now that one's there. Go back to the first one, and I'm going to actually, I will ignore for processing and drag this off. Now I'm going to grab the happy and the spring because I'm going to cut this out of the same color. Add a canvas down at the bottom, and then I'm going to Control C for the happy spring, go to the fifth canvas, Control V, that'll be here. Add another canvas, go back to the first one. I'm going to actually delete this because I don't need that there. This I'm going to move over here because it's going to stay on canvas 1. And then I'm going to separate the little flower from the center. So the center I'm actually going to cut with the words. So I'm going to Control C, go back to the board with the words, Control V, there it is. And I'm going to actually drag that up to the in between the two words. And then I'm actually going to group this together. Because when I turn the camera on, I might need to move it around on the material. So we'll see if it's grouped, it's just easier to move. And then the last thing I need to do is cut the little flower out. Oh, and actually I'm going to delete the center that's already, it's still selected over here. Delete that. Grab the flower, and I'm going to add that to a new canvas. So I'm going to Control C, add a canvas down here, and then I'm going to Control V. And so we have the little flower up here. Go back to the first one, and I'm going to delete it off of there. All right, so now is when I will turn on the laser and get everything connected so that we can see how you put this all together. Okay, so for whatever reason, the Wi-Fi isn't connecting, so I had to connect this to the laser via the USB cable. And so now you can see what is in the laser bed right now. So it's really difficult to tell, but this is the design. It's kind of hard to even see it. And then over here on the right, I'm going to hit autofocus. So this is what's going to allow the laser to autofocus on the material. So I don't have to do any manual focusing, which is a really nice thing about this laser. Okay, so the autofocus is done. So now I'm just gonna hit start up here in the upper right. Tells me it's gonna take 1 minute and 36 seconds. I'll be honest, that's normally not correct. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. So I'll just click send, and then it's gonna tell me to click the button on the machine. So I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, so let's see what we got. Oh, looks pretty good. So here's what I wound up with. So that is the, the back solid piece, so pretty cute. Now let's move on to the next layer. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to canvas 2, which is not the top, it's like the middle layer. So I'm gonna cut that out of pink. So I'm gonna hit refresh up here in the upper right. Okay, looks good. Now I'm gonna autofocus. Okay, so the autofocus is complete. Okay, so for some reason it's saying that this piece is gonna take about 4 minutes. I guess because it has more cutouts in the middle. So I'm gonna hit send. And then I'm gonna press the button on the machine over here. So here's the first piece, and then here's the second piece. Just have to figure out where it lines up. Oh, there we go. I think about like that. It's pretty cute. And you can see the crumb tray. Some of the pieces have fallen through down underneath, and then I'll just pull out the stuff that's in there. And we're gonna move on to the next layer. I think you're getting the idea of how this works. Now I will just repeat the same process for the remaining 3 canvases. So first step is to switch the board out in the laser. Then I will click refresh in the software so I can see the new board in the software. Move items around to be cut as needed in the software so they fit on the board. Press start in the program and then press the button on the machine. The laser will then cut the items on the canvas. So then I just have to remove the pieces from the laser bed and repeat until all the canvases are cut. Okay, so now it's time to put this together. So how do you do that? Well, I'm using some Gorilla Wood Glue Ultimate. And I've got my layers, and then I have a clamp as well as a clip here. 2 clamps would really be better, but I've only got 1. And then I have some water and a paintbrush because I'm going to use the paintbrush to paint the back with the glue because of my hand issue. My hand's a little bit out of commission right now. Okay, so my first step is going to be to glue this piece onto this piece. And so what I want to do is make sure these are lined up, okay? And then I'm going to paint the back of this with the glue. So my nozzle's clogged, so I'm just going to pour some out. And then I'm dipping my brush in water just to kind of loosen up the bristles a little bit. I don't think I had that lined up quite right. There we go, that's better. Because it should just line up really nicely along the edges. Okay, then I'm going to take the clip. And I'm going to take my tweezers, clean off some of this glue that's spilling out between the edges here. And then I'm going to clamp the other side. And I think I might also take some of these guys and clamp them here. You want really good adhesion between the two layers, so you really want them tight and held together. So I'm gonna let it sit like that for 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll move on to the second layer. Okay, so before I put the green layer on, I'm actually gonna put my letters on, because this is like one layer and this is one layer, and so then I can put some weight on top of this to help that set. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna put down is the little flower in the center. Okay, so it's gonna be kind of tough to like get weight on this, but I'm gonna take my acrylic block and just set that down on top. And then I think I might take like a heavy book and set that on here for, again, the 20 to 30 minutes while it sets up, and then we'll come back and finish it. Okay, so this is dry, so now I just have to put this guy on and the center of the flower. So we're almost done. So exact same method, just gonna put glue on the back of this. I'm gonna clamp this, and then I'll probably put this on at the very end. Okay, so once again, just gonna let it dry for 20 to 30 minutes. And then I'm gonna put my last little dot on, and then we'll be done. Okay, so the last thing I need to do now that this is all together is put the center into the flower, and then I'm done. And now, so this is the last step. I'm just gonna put the acrylic block on top of that, and again, wait 20, 30 minutes, and then we'll be almost done with this cute, like, mini happy spring sign. Okay, and so there is our completed project. I think it's actually really cute. So I did want to say that you could put some ribbon on the back of this if you wanted to hang it up somewhere. The way I normally do that is with a staple gun, and I'll take the ribbon. Now for this, because it's a small scale, I wouldn't use a very like thick ribbon. Wouldn't go really any bigger than this. Probably maybe even something like this might be better, just to hang it. But then I would place it on the back. You know, cut the length of ribbon you want, place it on the back, and then staple gun the two ends, much like you can see here, where I've stapled this down. Now this has a lot more staples than I think this would require, because, you know, it's a lot bigger, it's thicker ribbon, it's a bigger sign, that kind of thing. But that is an option for something like this. You could also, if you wanted to, make it larger. So since I showed you how to put it on different canvases, you could increase the size, the overall size of the various pieces, components, and then have a much bigger sign that you could hang on your door, for example. So I have a little home spelled out motif on my wall in my craft room, and you can change out the O for the various seasons and holidays, and so I'm going to put this as my O for the next month or so. So I hope you liked that. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you might try out the WeCreat MakeIt software along with their cute projects. This was a very beginner-friendly project because all it was cutting basswood with the laser. We didn't do any engraving or anything, but I'll do that in a future video. If you liked the video, I would really appreciate it if you could give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Either or both of those things really help out my channel quite a bit. And if you're interested in more laser crafting projects, Cricut crafting, scan and cut and silhouette crafting, you might consider subscribing to my channel as well. Thank you so much. Have a great day.